Welcome back to the Real Matrix. It's what we're living in. We're trying to show you just factual information about what we think is true, what we've been told, and maybe if you look at it with your eyes and use your thinking, you think, there's some questions here.
Mm-hmm.
Some questions here. You know, we talked about Larry Silverstein. I wanted to get to these clips. I know we're running out of time, and I've got a lot more clips to show you about the plane in Pennsylvania. I know we'll get to. Well, I want to do the clip of. I want to do the couple clips of Larry Silverstein, which just are beyond belief. He actually admits to this nonsense. Next clip, Riley.
Demolition. Let's listen to a clip from Larry Silverstein. He was the lease owner of the World Trade Center as he gave an interview on PBS.
I remember getting a call from the fire department commander telling me that they were not sure they were going to be able to contain the fire. And I said, you know, we've had such terrible loss of life. Maybe the smartest thing to do is pull it. And they made that decision to pull, and then we watched the building collapse.
Now, we've just heard Larry Silverstein making the admission that when it came to Building 7, the decision was made to pull it, a term that is used by demolition experts in bringing a building down. But what was America and the rest of the world told as to why Building 7 came down?
About an hour ago, World Trade Center Building Number 7 collapsed, a 42-story building, weakened by the devastation that had occurred earlier today.
We've all seen controlled demolitions on television. Office buildings, sports stadiums, all brought down by controlled charges. And these charges and controlled demolitions take weeks of planning. They have to bring in experts and do a structural analysis of the buildings, study which beams, which girders have to have charges placed on them. And then a team of explosive experts has to come and set the charges, wire them all together in sequence. And then, finally, after everything is clear, they let the building go, or pull it. Are we to believe that 8 hours after a surprise attack in New York City, they were able to pull Building 7? How is this possible had it not been planned in advance? And if they did have planned detonation charges in place in Building Number 7, is it possible that there were charges in Building 6, or 5, or 4, or the North Tower, or the South Tower?
We made it at least 2 blocks, and we started running. Floor by floor, it started popping out.
It was if they had detonated.
Yeah,
if they were planned to take down a building. Boom, 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 boom.
All the way down. I was watching it, and
I mean, the guy had either the gall or the stupidity to say, yeah, we decided to pull it, which you understand the verbiage. You've heard that before.
Yeah, well, I really hadn't heard that before, but
you watch TV shows, let's pull, so
he said it in an interview, and nobody caught on to it.
No, I mean, how does it make sense? As they just said, to bring down a building, that's not just like, hey, we're gonna demo this building in a couple hours. Let's get in there and start throwing up detonating charges.
Right.
Doesn't happen that way.
So again, Building 7, I would assume was occupied.
Yes, but they got. Matter of fact, we said in other shows, Building 7 was one. It's where they had the emergency response team for the city of New York. So it was an extra fortified building with its own water source and everything. It was such a well-built building. How does that building come down? How does it come down? I want to get to the plane, so I could sit here and talk about Larry Silverstein and one more clip about Larry Silverstein and usually just comes down to money. Next clip.
Questions you're not allowed to ask. Why did the owner of the World Trade Center get maximum insurance against terrorist attacks 6 weeks prior to September 11th? Why did the owner have breakfast in the towers every morning except for September 11th? The day before September 11th, Rumsfeld gave a press conference where he talked about trillions of dollars missing.
Our financial systems are decades old. According to some estimates, we cannot track $2.3 trillion in transactions.
Why was CNN already there before the attacks with a camera crew ready to film? Why was there an unidentified group of short cells purchased against airline companies right before the attacks? Why was every passenger incinerated in the explosion, but the terrorist passport somehow survived? Why was a report published a year before 9/11 by George W. Bush's administration saying they needed to aggressively expand military power worldwide, but they need a catalyzing Pearl Harbor level event in order to gain public support?
It's called a false flag event. It's what happened in Pearl Harbor. There's a lot of evidence. I don't have it with me, but there's a tremendous amount of evidence shows that during Pearl Harbor, we knew we were going to be attacked. And to get us into the war, we needed to have a catastrophe and have all those people die at Pearl Harbor so we would get involved in World War II. And so now you heard the Bush administration say, we need more military presence in these other Middle East.
Right.
We need an event to, and when this happened, what did we all say? We actually had Pat Tillman, a professional NFL football player, say, I'm quitting this prestigious job and I'm going to go fight for my country. And when you think of that, just think about the fact that that's a gentleman, and everyone else in the military who died in that war, it was done, I'm saying, by our government. With the knowledge, our government had the knowledge that this was happening, and those lives were lost, not only in the tower, but our military personnel that died in that war, and all the innocent people in the country. I don't even know.
No, I mean, again, if you're even if you're even half right, but I mean, but when you have stuff like that, again, I'd never heard that Silverstein ate breakfast in the towers every morning since he owned the building, or since he leased it, whatever it was, except for that.
There is actually information, because again, this was the Israeli Mossad. We saw it earlier in this show, at the beginning of the show, about the fact that the Mossad was behind the wiring of the building. I guess there's a network of Israeli information where some Israeli person sent out messages to Jewish people in New York saying, stay home on 9/11. Don't go to work. Going to be an event.
And nobody said, hey, here's my email or here's my message?
No. I mean, the information that keeps adding up. And I want to get to this real quickly because Dale is just on fire about the fact that
my guy,
your guy, the hero who said, let's roll on the airplane. What we're going to see is the fact that there was no plane wreckage in Pennsylvania. Okay, there's no plane wreckage. And we're going to show you in next shows how the fact that a plane didn't hit the Pentagon. That was a missile. So if you actually think about the fact that if you fired a missile into the ground, how big would that be and how much damage would that do? And then you're going to hear people saying it sounded like a missile. So there's no plane wreckage there. There was some plane wreckage elsewhere. Was the airplane shot down by our military? And then they use this as a story. Listen, I don't know exactly what the truth is. Here's the one thing I do know. There was no plane wreckage in a Pennsylvania cornfield. That's all I do know. So what we were told and what is fact are two different things. Now, where they went, how they got shot down, were they even shot down? Who knows? I don't know. But the truth isn't what we were told. Let's play the first clip, Riley.
Debris from Flight 93 was found considerable distances from the crash site.
The debris here is spread over a 3 to 4 mile radius, which has now been completely sealed off and is being treated, according to the FBI, as a crime scene. This is one of those cases where the pictures really do tell the story, that sort of the most horrifying aspect of this particular crash scene is how little debris is visible. That's really all you see is a large crater in the ground and just tiny, tiny bits of debris. There has been at least one report that the investigators out there, and there are hundreds of them, as I said tonight, have found nothing larger than a phone book.
Well, Darren, in the last hour or so, the FBI and the state police here have confirmed that they have cordoned off a second area about 6 to 8 miles away from the crater here where this plane went down. This is apparently another debris site, which raises a number of questions. Why would debris from the plane, and they identified it specifically as being from this plane, why would debris be located 6 miles away? Could it have blown that far away? Seems highly unlikely. Almost all the debris found at this site is within 100 yards, 200 yards away. So it raises some questions. We don't want to over-speculate, of course.
It seems to me from covering a number of plane crashes on the scene that, if nothing else, you can say this is not typical for a plane crash to be spread across an area this large.
It certainly doesn't make sense because most of the debris has been found in a very compact area within 100 yards, 200 yards, maybe a little beyond that. And then all of a sudden they're telling us 6 miles away they have another concentration of debris. They say it's very small pieces. Most of these are very small pieces. Most of the pieces here are no bigger than the size of a briefcase, they say, and the pieces 6 miles away maybe even smaller than that.
Did they find a plane in Shanksville?
Within the last hour. I want to get quickly to Chris Kanicki. He was back there just a couple of minutes ago, and Chris, I've seen the pictures. It looks like there's nothing there except for a hole in the ground.
Basically, that's right. The only thing you could see from where we were was a big gouge in the earth and some broken trees. From where we could see, there wasn't much left.
Any large pieces of debris at all?
No, there was nothing that you could distinguish that a plane had crashed there.
Smoke, fire?
Nothing. It was absolutely quiet. It was actually very quiet. Nothing going on down there, no smoke, no fire. Just a couple of people walking around. They look like part of the NTSB crew walking around looking at the pieces.
How big would you say that hole was?
From my estimates, I would guess it was probably about 20 to 15 feet long and probably about 10 feet long or 10 feet wide.
What could you see on the ground, if anything, other than dirt and ash? And
you couldn't see anything. You could just see dirt, ash, and people walking around, broken trees.
From the Somerset County coroner to the mayor of Shanksville, almost every eyewitness would remark how little of the plane and its passengers remained.
But when I got there, I wondered to myself, where is it? There was just, the plane was just totally disintegrated. The only thing we didn't see were people.
Nothing to indicate that that there was even anybody on the plane.
I remember asking a state trooper that was there to be sure, is that where the plane went down? It was so hard to tell because there was nothing around.
The Pennsylvania State website puts it best. It is difficult to believe that a 757 plunged into the ground with such force that the plane literally disintegrated and created a still, smoldering crater. Is there any historical precedent for a commercial airliner disintegrating upon impact?
Where's the black box?
Right.
The black box always survives.
Dale, what I took away from that, we could sit here and watch that video all day. Right after that, the makers of the video or the documentary show plane crash after plane crash after plane, where there's debris everywhere. I mean, it's hard to hide a plane. And these planes, went down in the same kind of fashion. Whether they were going straight in, whatever, the metal of the plane doesn't disintegrate. Metal doesn't just disappear. Engines as big as 8-10 feet diameter, they don't just disappear. There's just a hole there. And if you listened, he said, yeah, the one guy who was there and saw everything said, there's just a hole 15 by 20 or 15 or 20 foot in diameter. If you shoot a missile into something, it's about a 15 to 20
but wouldn't there
foot
be
diameter.
Remnants of the missile?
No, it just blows up. I don't know. Yeah, those are all the little debris. They said well, there's just little pieces of nothing.
So my last question, I don't know how much longer we have.
We got more.
But the Let's Roll guy, my hero.
Yeah.
What, did he show up at home that night? Did they pick him up and take him home?
No, again, you saw that there was a debris field 6 miles away. Maybe that airplane was shot down. Maybe it was shot down, and they used this as a let's make these people a hero instead of making them victims of our government shooting down the airplane. It's very easy to fabricate stories, Dale. Very easy.
And I understand. I can fabricate a story to you.
There you go.
But I can't fabricate a story to 100 people, much less thousands.
Yeah, you can. The news does it every day. The mainstream news does it every day. They tell you what they want you to hear, and they keep from you what they don't want you to hear. That's the point. We're in the real matrix. We're not getting the correct information.
Why hasn't there been more emphasis put on some of these documentaries that you're finding?
I don't know. You tell me, Dale. Why isn't anyone watching these?
Yeah.
Why isn't anyone paying attention to these? The facts are irrefutable. They're just as clear as day.
Because what's going through my mind is if this can happen, and their guy was in office when this happened, so they could start a war and all that.
Yeah.
And they got Trump in, who obviously is not one of their guys.
Correct.
So we're making peace accords, supposedly, and all that stuff.
Correct.
Well, would this be the perfect time to have another catastrophe happen?
Yes. That's why I said, be aware. If we let them keep getting away with these evil criminal acts, they're going to keep doing it. And who's to say you're not going to be the one that isn't caught in the middle of the next act?
And that's the thing that I've always said. Usually, I think most Americans, not all, probably 90 plus, a little over 90%, it didn't affect me.
Correct.
The 9/11 stuff, it was horrific. It was this, it was that. But you know what? I didn't know anybody in the buildings. I didn't know anybody who died. I thought it was tragic. But 3-4 days later, you're back to life.
Like I said before in earlier shows, we are just we're just trying to get by. We're just trying to live our lives. And even if you think this, you say, "Oh, how do I change it?" Well, you change it by knowing and making other people know it. If everyone knew this, if every person in America knew it, you couldn't pull it again. You couldn't. But too many people are ignorant of it. So when you're watching out there, let people know about this show. Have them watch it. Have them say, okay, if this is incorrect information, what is correct? What, the mainstream media? We saw the film. You look, you see an orange. Visually, you know it's an orange. They tell you it's an apple. Is that what you believe? Is that what you believe? We got some more clips I want to get to them before we're out of here. Play the next one, Riley, in regards to more information about the plane in Pennsylvania.
The FBI managed to provide a multitude of evidence that appears to have survived a catastrophic crash in near pristine condition. Among the exhibits were a red bandana, a Kingdom of Saudi Arabia driver's license, John Talignani's driver's license, and flight attendant Cece Lyle's personal effects, including her driver's license and Marriott hotel card. Although a 757 managed to obliterate itself upon impact, paper and fabric managed to survive without a scratch. They also released pictures of an engine and 2 pieces of fuselage. It is not specified where those were found. Once again, the FBI stepped in to supervise every aspect of the investigation. They repeatedly denied family members' requests to listen to the cockpit voice recorder. The FBI gave in on April 18, 2002, as long as the victims' relatives didn't talk about it. And for some reason, the last 3 minutes were unaccounted for. No explanation has been given. Even after Zacarias Moussaouy's sentencing, the actual cockpit voice recorder has yet to be released. The 9/11 Commission concludes that the military was not informed of Flight 93 until 10:07, minutes after it had crashed.
We heard the explosion. Actually, our power had gone off, and then we felt a tremor. We had just gotten up, and the next thing I know, it sounded like a missile came across our house. I mean, they were going that fast. It was flying. It was coming from that direction. I have no idea what it was. Oh no, it wasn't. It wasn't the aircraft that crashed. No, it's hard for me to believe that they did not know about that aircraft until 10:07. That's difficult for me to believe.
Despite the discussions about military assistance, no one from FAA headquarters requested military assistance regarding United 93, nor did any manager at FAA headquarters pass any of the information it had about United 93 to the military.
A year after 9/11, military officials were telling an entirely different story, that Flight 93 was being tracked.
In the Pentagon Command Center, there's a report of another hijacked plane, United Airlines Flight 93.
We received a report from the FAA that Flight 93 had turned off its transponder, had turned, and was now heading towards Washington, D.C. The decision was made to try to go intercept Flight 93.
The rules have changed. We could do something about it now.
Colonel Bob Marr is in command at the Northeast Air Defense Sector base in Rome, New York.
The words that I remember as clear as day was, "We will take lives in the air to preserve lives on the ground."
Marr orders his air controllers tell the pilots to intercept Flight 93.
United Airlines Flight 93 will not be allowed to reach Washington, D.C.
The closure time came and went, and nothing had happened. So you can imagine everything was very tense.
Flight 93 is about 175 miles north and west of Washington, flying over Somerset County, Pennsylvania. Up above, a fighter jet streaks by.
It was about, 10:03 that the fighters reported that Flight 93 had crashed.
Eventually, of course, we never fired on any aircraft.
When you heard the plane was down without a shot being fired at it, do you remember what you said?
We just witnessed an act of heroism.
Was Flight 93 downed by hijackers in an open field in Shanksville, Pennsylvania? Or is the truth being withheld from the public?
As you're going to see, Dick Cheney is one of, again, the most anti-American, anti-human criminals in this country's history. Anything that comes out of his mouth is generally a lie. So you heard that. So you heard the people. They said, no, nothing was intercepted. A couple of years later, oh, yeah, we did intercept it. And we will take lives in the air.
Right.
So what's the story? We're never going to get the story. All I know is this. Again, you can't have the plane crash there without any wreckage. And there's no wreckage. So I don't know.
So where was the plane?
I don't know, Dale. I just know this. What we were told isn't the truth. Did they blow it up and all the wreckage 6-7 miles away? Was that it? It was blown up in the air and it just fell to the ground? Or, I'll play this one last clip so we're running out of time. There's actually a news report that said Flight 93 landed in Cleveland because there was a bomb on board. Play this. We're running out of time. I know Dale's going to have tons of questions, but we got to get through this. One last clip, Riley.
On September 11th, it was reported that the passengers of Flight 93 were in the process of overcoming terrorists who had taken over the plane using box cutters. And in the process, the plane crashed in a field in Shanksville, Pennsylvania at 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Well, if Flight 93 crashed in Shanksville at 10 o'clock Eastern Time, how do we explain the following story that was carried by WCPO-TV Channel 9 in Cincinnati, Ohio? This story was posted on the internet at 11:43 a.m. Eastern Time by web producer Liz Foreman. The headline reads, "Plane lands in Cleveland, bomb feared aboard." A Boeing 767 out of Boston made an emergency landing Tuesday at Cleveland Hopkins International Airport due to concerns that it may have a bomb aboard, said Mayor Michael R. White. United identified the plane as Flight 93. If United Airlines Flight 93 crashed at 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, then how could Flight 93 also have landed at Cleveland Hopkins International Airport, been evacuated, and searched for a bomb, as was reported at 11:43 Eastern Time by Liz Foreman from WCPO-TV in Cincinnati? Which flight was the real Flight 93? Which flight crashed in Shanksville, Pennsylvania?
So I don't know the story. Did it land in Cleveland? Was it shot down? People say it could have been blown up in the ocean over somewhere. Who knows?
Lake, yeah.
But I'll tell you this. It didn't crash in a Pennsylvania cornfield. There was no wreckage. You heard the people say no wreckage, no bodies, no nothing. Nothing. So again, when you look at all the information, how the towers couldn't have come down the way Building 7 came down without any damage, minimal fires. Now we have a plane crash in Pennsylvania that did not happen as we were told. Keep adding them up. One of these days in the shows, we're going to add up every factual piece of information and compare that to what they've told us. And then you tell me what the story is. Because if you believe what they say, you're living in the Matrix. So we'll be back next week with more information to make you sad, make you angry, but knowledge is power.
Let's roll.
We'll be back. Want to make your love life sizzle like a Phoenix summer? Summit Male Medical guarantees to help you with ED or premature issues, or we won't charge you. We've helped tens of thousands of patients here in the Valley since 2008. Please compare our most experienced medical staff and low-price treatments to anybody. If you've talked to the rest, it's time to come to the best. Put the sizzle back in your love life. 480-398-1000 or go to summitmalemedical.com. Summit Medical, love for life.